On this episode of Mom Sipping Sangria,
force yourself in some way to do something joyful or fun or silly or just put a smile on your face, because you can do that for free. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on therapy.
I'm good. Let's do it.
Well, hello. Happy almost spring, Anita. Welcome to another episode of Mom Sipping Sangria. I'm Sheila Walsh.
And I'm Anita Rouse MacArthur. And today, in honor of our very special guest who no longer indulges in alcohol, we are enjoying some very tasty, light, crisp virgin sangria, Sheila.
This is tasty, Anita. And we should mention that all the sangrias that we talk about at the beginning of our shows, including this one, are posted on our website, momssippingsangria.com. There's pictures, there's recipes, nothing too complicated because, who has time for that?
No one. The less complicated, the better. So, Sheila.
Yes, Anita.
So the special guest that we were just teasing a few minutes ago, it is the lovely and incomparable Erin Davis.
Erin Davis, are you serious?
We're so lucky to have her here with us today. But before Erin joins us, people may or may not know, Erin's been in my life for a very long time. Goes back to when I first started dating Ian, who's now my husband of many years. And Erin and Ian used to work together for a very, very long time. And there are two instances that stick out in my mind when we first met. So when I first met them, it was Erin, her husband Rob, and her little daughter Lauren. Lauren was about 2 years old at the time. And Lauren was sitting in a high chair, and she was just all giggly and smiley and laughy. And oh my gosh, she was just, you could just squeeze her legs, and she was just scrumptious. Exactly. Squeeze those cheeks. So the next time we met, Rob and her invited us over for Christmas Eve. So I guess sort of to break the ice and stuff like that, Erin says, well, why don't we just start singing some Christmas carols? Well, Erin sits down at the piano and starts playing, and it's just like she's
Mozart.
Oh, it's just incredible. And then Rob pulls out his guitar and he starts playing like flawlessly. And of course, Ian knows how to play as well. So now the three of them, and I'm sitting on the couch like a lump going, okay, how do I,
You're the groupie.
And then Erin starts singing, and it's like birds chirping. It was just so incredible. Rob comes in, starts harmonizing. Ian starts harmonizing. I'm like, okay, one of us is not like the others here. How do I even contribute? It was just...
Did you at least clap and be the fan?
I think I had a little triangle. I think they felt bad for me and they gave me a triangle.
That's so funny. A woman of many talents. Oh, my gosh.
But anyways, so without any further ado, we have with us today, as my husband Ian likes to say, the Wayne Gretzky of radio and #1 best-selling author, the incomparable Erin Davis.
Erin! Yay!
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Erin Davis says, we live and breathe. How awesome to talk to you. I thought we were actually talking to you from your home on the West Coast, but I understand you're in Palm Springs. How nice is that?
Yeah, still west, but just a little further down and drier and sunnier these days. So It's lovely to talk to you both. And thank you for those kind and lovely memories. I love when people have memories of our daughter and especially the early days when we first met you. Boy, oh boy, Ian married up. We always...
You keep telling him that.
Well, and I have my own story, too, about my first time hearing you, Erin. And I was, a newbie in broadcasting, and I was working the overnight shift, and I had to stick around and do traffic on the morning, and everybody stole CHFI's traffic. That was the station you worked for in Toronto. And of course, so I started to do it too. And I started to hear you. And I'm this young, impressionable 21-year-old. And I think you weren't much older than I was at that point. And here you were broadcasting, so talented, so funny. And you were broadcasting at home. I think this was 1991, nursing baby Lauren. And I remember thinking at that point, that is amazing. Because, at 21-year-old, you're like, this is a crazy career. I just got off the overnights. I'm doing mornings. Am I ever going to have a work-life balance? And you inspired me to do what I had to do to make life gel with work and not the other way around. So 3 kids later, thank you so much for that.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I don't think that I ever managed the work-life balance. I always kind of gave that impression, but really my whole life, not my whole life, but I'd say 80% of my life was work. And Rob could attest to this. When I wasn't at work, I was thinking about what we were going to do for the next day or if this would be a good bit. And of course, if those were the days with a camera in your pocket, I'd have been shooting video and stuff all day long, I think. think. But yeah, it consumed me because I was the show. It wasn't just a job for me, and so then it sort of was reciprocal. It was as much a part of my DNA as the singing that Anita mentioned, or motherhood, or anything else. It was just my life.
Anita and I have talked about the work-life balance and how it really is impossible. But everybody does give that optic that we're all doing it until we don't, right? That's the thing.
Well, that's exactly right, and I think that in a lot of ways people would say we've failed our sisters, those of us who didn't come out. I felt so guilty for being prescribed antidepressants when Lauren was about 1 to 1.5, 2 years old, because I just felt like I wasn't handling it all. I wasn't juggling it as well as I should, or why am I feeling like this? And then I thought, oh, people are going to think I'm such a hypocrite because, I'm waking everybody up in the morning with my partner on the radio and we're laughing and having a great time. And I'm also dealing with all of this other stuff and fighting off depression and anxiety and all of those things. Does that make me a hypocrite? Well, as we've learned in the ensuing couple of decades, it only means that you're human and you're it's not sick, right? You're just looking for help.
Well, thank you for being so honest with that, because that's helped me too. I'm in a place in my life right now where that resonates. But we're here to talk a bit more about this amazing book.
Yeah. So Erin, your #1 national best-selling memoir, Morning Has Broken, Love, Loss, and Reclaiming Joy, was recently released in paperback. So congratulations on that. And for those who may not know the story behind the memoir, it surrounds the loss of your only child, Lauren, who died in her sleep at the age of 24, and it was the night after celebrating her very first Mother's Day. She left behind her 7-month-old son, Colin, and her husband. And now we're coming on 5 years already. May 11th,
isn't that
right?
Something?
That's crazy.
Yes, yeah.
Now, the exact cause of Lauren's death is still unexplained.
It is, and it's turned into something that is just a small cause for Rob and for me, because whenever we think about it, that's when my anger comes up, and I try to keep my anger down. And it's a prescription Motilium or domperidone, not domperignon, but domperidone, which it literally is handed out to breastfeeding moms who are having troubles. I know personally of a young woman who went to her doctor or to a breast clinic and said, I don't want it, I don't want it, I don't want it. And she went home and there was a prescription for it in her file folder. And she didn't want it because of what had happened to Lauren. This drug is banned in the United States. It's prescribed with caution in the UK. And in Canada, it's just, as I say, handed out like cheese samples at Costco on a Sunday. And we're just trying to get breastfeeding moms who are considering taking this to please, please, please get their hearts checked, because there was a very good chance that Lauren had her father's really slow heartbeat. And what this drug does is it jumps in between the heartbeats and stops the heart, or it can do that. So we're just asking people, get your hearts checked before you take this drug. And thankfully, there have been a lot of people who have reached out to me and said, my daughter was on this, or I was on it. I had heart fluctuations and I stopped immediately. Thank you. Thank you. So if just getting that message out a little bit, and thank you for letting me talk about it here today, helps anybody and saves a life and a mom and people who should be there, to their old age, or taking care of us in ours, then I'm very grateful to you. So thank you.
Erin, usually we're more cautious than the States or UK. What's happening here? Do you have an answer for that?
I don't, because Rob, my husband, is the one who did he reached out to Health Canada and he begged them to change their website to be a little more forceful in their wording of this, and just to make sure that it's a little bit more redlined than the usual. How many times do you get a prescription? You go to Shoppers, they say, have you taken this before? Yes or no? And then there's this big write-up that goes in the trash with the bag that it came in.
Exactly.
I mean, we just don't. And when you're 24, you think you're bulletproof, right? Nothing's gonna hurt you. You're healthy. You're great. You're fine. She was in terrific condition and happy. I mean, a lot of people think she may have taken her life because of postpartum depression, and that's just not true. She died in her sleep after one of the happiest days of her life. So, I think we're all so complacent that we're being taken care of. So it's Rob who spoke with Health Canada. It's Rob who reached out to the doctor who is the breastfeeding guru in Canada. And he absolutely said, no, not possible. Whereas our coroner and a man who became a friend of us, who was also the chief coroner, they said, absolutely, this is what it was, but the testing isn't there to be able to connect the dots.
Well, keep fighting the good fight, and we'll spread that news to as many people as possible. Absolutely.
Well, Sheila, you know, as a reporter, that the drug companies have an awful lot of money, and we could lose everything if we get on the wrong soapbox. So we tread very carefully with this. We really do.
I totally appreciate that, and I wish you nothing but the best for sure.
Thank you.
So now, Erin, you're very open and honest in your book. Readers cry with you, they mourn with you, but they also smile with you. And I just wanted to, let people who haven't read this book know that it's good for people who are going through grief, but it's also good for people who are helping others get through the grieving process. So now you write within the book about the crushing news of Lauren's death, and that how it triggered shock initially, followed by anger, bouts of sadness, of course, but it also triggered gratitude. How did you recognize that it was gratitude? When did that first happen?
Well, the gratitude came in almost immediately as soon as we had a little time to kind of process what had happened. And in many ways, we still haven't. And that's one of the reminders in the book, is you never get over something, you get through it. And a lot of that has to do with bringing in different ideas and perspectives and voices of people who have been through it, or professionals, or even people of a more spiritual angle who have different ideas about maybe what her purpose was here on earth. And I like that. Don't tell me God needed another angel, or I'm lining up for a throat punch. But anyway.
I hear you.
All right. But the gratitude was when we were preparing for her funeral. We had one in Ottawa for her friends, family, and coworkers there, and then a few weeks later in Toronto, and starting to write our thoughts. And the first things that we came up with was how grateful we were that, her heart didn't stop while she was driving, that she wasn't walking down the stairs carrying Colin, that she wasn't murdered, that she didn't die by suicide, that all of these things, these myriad ways that our children can die, didn't happen to our daughter. My own sister, Leslie, who is, she's 4 years younger than me, her son, Michael, was murdered about a year and a half after Lauren died. And he'd gotten into the drug business in Kelowna, which is bustling. And he was getting out, and the people that he was living with didn't really like that idea. So he was murdered. And still, there are no answers. There was no body to identify because the house was blown up. There's all kinds of layers. And she feels so guilty about her son having contributed probably to the addiction and death of others that she can't grieve publicly or go to support groups, because there are all these mothers and fathers whose kids died of overdoses. Leslie feels like the pariah in the group. So that's a different kind of phase of gratitude. So again, our gratitude is all taken from the perspectives of others, and for this beautiful, beautiful boy that she left us in our lives.
I commend you looking for the light in such a dark place. The reviews on your memoir have been tremendous. Clearly, there are so many people who, like you mentioned, this community that you're part of that you never wanted to be part of, but they're out there. They need this. Olivia Newton-John calls it a gift of love to others who are seeking solace. Did you realize when you were writing it that so many people actually needed this book?
Well, I didn't think that it would have the reach that it's had. And by the way, Anita, if you're responsible for it being sold out of the soft cover version in Chapters in Ajax already, thank you. Yeah, woo! 1 week in. There were a couple of books that I name check in mine that people had sent me right away. I Wasn't Ready to Let You Go. Journey of Souls, which is an exceptional book by a doctor named Michael Newton, who is a hypnotherapist and goes back to other lives. And I know this gets woo-woo, so I won't get into it, but it's fascinating. And it gave us more peace than anything in our religious backgrounds, because we thought, okay, she had a purpose. We agreed to this before she came. She lived her life so quickly, why couldn't she wait? That was also a theme of our remembrances of her at her funerals. Why couldn't she wait? So those books were there for us. And I purposely didn't read anything else because I didn't want to be, subconsciously plagiarizing anything or taking other people's ideas. I just wrote from the heart, and they say that what comes from the heart goes to the heart. And in this case, I was very fortunate. And I didn't sit down to write a book and then pitch it. I need to say that right out because I never, ever would have the gumption to do that. Is this the first time gumption has been mentioned on Mom Sipping Sangria?
I think...
Because it's like moxie. I didn't have moxie
Well,
either.
you know
I didn't.
what?
I tell you, I just didn't.
Say, what do you mean?
I know.
Where's the skirt?
Yet another first.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Gumption. It's your word of the day.
great word.
I win Hamilton tickets. I won Hamilton tickets.
I'm sure you could get them, Erin.
Oh, I don't know. I could get tickets to Hamilton, but it would be the city. This is who I am now. So I didn't have the gumption to write a book and say, hey, does anybody want to publish this? Because I'm averse to rejection. Go figure. But it was like the day of my final broadcast on CHFI. I was invited on Cityline, and in the audience that day was the publisher of HarperCollins. She was out for a day with her sisters, usually like it was a play or a spa or whatever, but they went to this day. And then she contacted me a few days later and said, I think you've got a book in you. And I went, I think I do too. And Rob gently tried a little bit to talk me out of it because he didn't want to go down this dark road, a lot of which we hadn't even traveled yet together. We hadn't even gone back there. I've had to ask him, what happened when you got the phone call? Like, what was that like? And what did they say? And all of those things. So, yeah, it was just, it was kind of thrown in my lap. And sometimes you just listen to the universe and say, okay, Lauren, if this is from you, thank you.
So I was just going to say, it almost sounds like it was meant to be. I mean, the stars aligned and that's the direction you needed to go in.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I am a believer in mediums or media, if you will, media and mediums. But having talked to someone fairly shortly after Lauren's death, Rob and I went down to our spiritual mecca, if you will, of Sedona, Arizona. And we did a crossing over ceremony with Lauren. And Lauren said, through this woman who had a New Jersey accent, it was like a TV episode. I'm telling you. She said Lauren was making her laugh the whole time, so that's how I knew it was Lauren. But she said, Mom, it's not about you anymore. It's about them. And that has been practically tattooed on my wrist ever since. And so anything I can do to help people who reach out to me, whether it's to sort of nudge them towards the first step of going into a 12-step program or just getting through grief, because people say, I remember where I was when Lauren died and I thought, oh my God, how do you survive this? And now here I am. Yeah. So this has been my push, my motivation, and my reason for living ever since.
What tips can you share about living with gratitude, and how does someone get started?
Well, you know what? It starts with your thoughts. And that sounds like everything you've ever heard from any meditation teacher or yoga instructor or whatever. But it totally is. And let's use the yoga analogy. If you're in a position that is painful, and for me, that's all of them, except for Savasana. I love that.
Yeah,
just
that's
lie
easy
down.
one.
Yeah. Then if you can just put a little smile on your face when you're in that impossible pose, it tricks your body into thinking you're enjoying it. And so that's what happened in the days and weeks that after I went back to work 1 month later, was I was laughing because I was with people I loved, and it was funny and joyful, even for those 4 hours a day. So it kind of tricked my body into thinking, you're having fun. This is good. You can laugh. So if you can make yourself smile through, I know, and it just sounds so stupid, and you don't want to look like the village idiot, walking along, walking through the mall with a smile on your face, but it does change everything. So that's my first thing, is just force yourself in some way to do something joyful or fun or silly, or just put a smile on your face, because you can do that for free. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on therapy. Another point that I would have is something that came from meditation called cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, work with me on this one for a second. You're driving down the 401 and an idiot, because anyone passing you fast is an idiot, and the one who's going too slowly is a moron. We know that. That's a rule of the road.
Oh, you know them too.
Of course. And I didn't even have to be a traffic specialist to know that, Sheila. So if you see somebody passing you and maybe they've cut you off, and the first thing you want to do is shake your fist or give them one finger from it. But if you can tell yourself, and Rob and I do this all the time, tell yourself that guy is going to the hospital to see his wife for the last time. And it may not, of course, it's not going to be true 99.9% of the time, but what if it is? And it changes it brings your anger level down. It raises your compassion. And that happened on our drive to Ottawa to visit with Colin a few months ago. And I remarked on this guy going by, and Rob said maybe he's on the way to see his wife at the hospital. And then he was pulled over at the side of the road, and I went by the cops, and I went, ha ha. And Rob said, no, maybe the police are going to escort him. And I said, oh, shut up.
I was going to say, I would kick Rob out of the car at that point.
That's right. But he's my driver, Sheila. I can't find anybody else who will let me sleep with him and drive my car. So that's just another way of repositioning the way you think about things. We were in a drive-through with my son-in-law and daughter-in-law. That's what I call Brooke, his wife, and she's lovely. And they were kind of bitching back and forth about some people who had stopped their car up ahead in the parking lot to talk with someone else in another car, and they were kind of blocking the way. And while they're doing that, I'm thinking, what if they haven't seen each other since high school? So I just kind of turn my thoughts around away from the bitterness and the anger that can just consume us so easily.
Well, I'm going to give that a shot. It would definitely take practice. In fact, we have a venting session coming up after we finish talking to you. And instead of venting, I think, Nita, you and I need to turn it around and try to apply this reposition thing that Erin's talking about.
All right, we'll have to work on that.
We'll work on that. Today, Erin, right now, what are some of the things that you are most grateful for?
Oh, God. I'm so grateful that Rob and I have Colin that we FaceTime with him every Sunday. And he's got a baby sister who was born September 30th. And she loves him and he loves her and we love her. And it's an interesting family dynamic because in that family of four, we're only related to one of them. But we're grateful for them. I am just so grateful for everyone who has chosen to stay in touch on Facebook, Erin Davis page on Facebook, or Twitter at Erin Davis, or Instagram, Erin Dawn Davis, and writing to me through my website at erindavis.com. There, I got them all in.
Good. So you're a pro, man.
Just took care of my next question.
Thank you. It means the world to Rob and to me. And I was talking to a therapist about 6 months ago, and I said, and I know this isn't real. This isn't a real connection. And I know how stupid this sounds and how, I love my followers. And I don't call them followers and I don't call them fans because to me, they're just like me. They're just people like me. It makes me so grateful to be in their lives still, even just a little bit, because I loved those 4 hours every morning, and Christmas Eve, and the ways that we connected and didn't even know each other. It's just the greatest gift to me. And these people lift me up. Sometimes I get a kick in the pants. They make me laugh and they make me think. And I'm grateful for every single one of them. I'm grateful for people like you who want to talk to me about anything. Because Rob's really tired of the sound of my voice, let me tell you that. This is a guy who, I have to check with him halfway through the day to see if he put his hearing aids in because he's going deaf because he wants to. So
selective deafness.
Yeah, and not just the usual husband level either, I'm here to tell you. He was a DJ for years and blew out his hearing that way, queuing stuff up. But anyway, so I'm really grateful for, I do podcasts 2 or 3 times a week. There are companies that want to work with me to sponsor their products or do their company podcasts and stuff. And I'm having the time of my life and I'm sleeping in every day.
Yes. The sleep is severely underrated. Well, you know what? We are so grateful for you and for you making time for us. You're an amazing lady. I also I'm presuming you're grateful for this too. You are so deserving of being inducted this year into the Canadian Music and Broadcast Industry Hall of Fame. Congratulations, lady. Oh my gosh, you deserve that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, say hi to the Sussexes because I understand they're in your neck of the woods out west now.
Yeah. And you know what? Okay, here's a little dirt. On Christmas Day, my yoga instructor was walking through our neighborhood. We live in an area called Dean Park, which is right near a provincial park. And there was Harry and Megan and Megan's mom and 2 dogs and a security detail. So she didn't didn't know who they were. And she just kind of started patting the dogs and stuff. And they kind of kept their heads down in their raincoat hoods and stuff. But yeah, they were in the neighborhood. I'll be expecting a visit for crumpets any day now.
High tea. No, that's good. And I mean, where you are is so beautiful. Anybody in the world who can move there, I'm sure would be silly not to.
In BC, of course, high tea has a whole different kind of a connotation because, cannabis and all that. But yeah, I won't be doing that. I promise. Oh, can I say I'm grateful for you two, for your laughter, Anita for your friendship, Sheila for tolerating me.
Oh my God, I love you,
Sheila,
Erin.
I love you too, and I love this podcast, you guys. It's a great mixture of information, inspiration, and some laughter too. And I think we all need that. So thanks for keeping people company in such a beautiful way.
That's very nice for you to say.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Erin, and have a lovely day.
You know I will. You guys, I'm still in my nightgown. Can I tell you that? Wow.
Lucky ducky.
Thank you, loves.
Oh my gosh, she is such a rock star.
Isn't she? Total rock star.
Amazing. Okay, so it's time for our venting segment where we, vent about something. It all started a few episodes ago from me leaving something on the stairs and hoping one of my family members would bring it down. And 3 days later, it was still there. And, we started talking about it. But you know what? Because Erin's theme today was all about being grateful, I feel bad about venting over stupid little things.
I hear you.
So I'm gonna turn my frown upside down, and I'm gonna talk about things I'm grateful for that I could vent about. So, for instance, all the really bad drivers out there that I want to,
and there are many.
Oh my God! But you know what I'm gonna talk about instead? How grateful I am that I can drive and I have a vehicle. See what I'm doing?
And are you a good driver though, Sheila?
Well, I am. But, okay, no, I'm not going to go there. Or, I was thinking, what else could I vent about, this minute? Because there's something every other minute. I'm thinking, customer service. I was on the phone with customer service on hold for 27 minutes, and I still didn't get through. And, instead of complaining about that, Anita, I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to say how lucky I am that I had something I was able to purchase. How about that? How about
you?
All
right. Well, I'm going to jump on that bandwagon a little bit, but I am going to vent a little bit, but at the same time, turn this into something grateful as well. So yesterday, you were just talking about customer service. I had to call Revenue Canada about a situation, and it was had to do with our family. And my mom had passed away a few months ago, and so of course they've got stuff wrong, and so then you're again, waiting online for forever. And so I get through finally, and the person on the other end says, can I help you? And I tell them, the situation, and he gets so uncomfortable because I've mentioned the fact that my mother has passed away that he says, I've got to go and get somebody else for you. And he puts me on hold, and then I'm on hold for like another 20-something.
Oh my gosh. You know what? He needs to read Erin's book.
I think he does. The following guy that I got was amazing. So I am grateful that the next person knew how to handle the situation. But I do think that, when you're in customer service, that you do need to be taught or given guidelines on how to handle situations like that.
100%. And right away, if it is just needing to defer better so you don't make the person uncomfortable. I think that was a very healthy exercise that we, turn things around. And I don't think I'll ever be able to do that again, but it was great this time. Okay, so on to our what the hell topic, formerly known as Hot Topic. But, these stories, Anita, are so bizarre. We decided to rename the segment What the Hell? Because you're left saying, what the hell?
It's still G-rated. It's okay.
So this is a segment where we take turns finding a bizarre story and we spring it on each other for reaction for the first time. So you have not heard this before. Okay, ready for it? We head to Croydon, New Hampshire, New Hampshire. Population 750, give or take,
wow.
so small. The place is about 200 kilometers north of Boston.
Okay.
They have fish fry Fridays, shaker Saturdays, and vegetable gardening 101 listed as events in the town.
Nice.
They also have town hall with a local board comprised of 3 members, Russ, Ian, and Joe. And they have one police officer who is not only the only police officer, but he's also chief of police. So he's his own chief, I suppose, right? So at the last town hall meeting, the board decided to strip Chief Richard Lee of his duties and let the state police take over policing to save money in the town, right? They do this stuff like this all the time. Well, Chief Lee was not impressed. He'd served the town for 20 years, and he took the idea of stripping his duties literally.
Uh-oh.
So he handed over the key to his cruiser, and he took off his guns, his actual guns. Then he took off his uniform shirt, then his turtleneck, his ballistic vest, and his pants.
And where is he at this point?
He's in his boxers or
Okay.
briefs, we're not sure, and boots. And then he walked out the door into a snowstorm. And his wife picked him up about 2 kilometers later, and he's now talking about the firing with an attorney. But he literally stripped down to his tighty whities and boots and walked out.
Wow. And this was during the town hall meeting?
This was during when they said, we no longer need you, Chief Lee. I think that was Russ who said that one.
Yeah, that was Russ who said that one. Okay. Well, I guess he was trying to make his point that he's not happy about this.
I guess. It's a movie. Like these things that you hear, you literally you couldn't come up with these things on your own.
Wow.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's I guess his wife's got something to deal with now, doesn't she?
There's a whole other thing. You and I both have had work issues in the past. And I think, you said you walked out. I just picture, I visualize this. You walked out and you screamed at the building, screw you, or whatever. It was something probably a bit more
a little
intense.
bit more profane than that.
I've had my dealings with things too, but I don't think I would ever resort to actually, making that much of a statement.
No. Okay. So if you have a bizarre story for us, something to vent about, or even if you have a sangria recipe that you like or you want to vent about, we would love to hear from you. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We are Moms Sipping Sangria.
All right, time to go to confession, where we come clean on something that we have been hiding away. This time, Anita, you need to confess. Fess up, girl.
I do. Okay, so this confession actually is a pretty recent one. So it starts off as a confession, but then it sort of morphs. You brought up the fact that I had been working at a negative environment, and I did leave there. But while I was working there, I was so incredibly stressed that I ended up developing an autoimmune disease, and it's called rosacea. It's inflammation on your face, and it's affected by stress. It's affected by the foods you eat. It's affected by the drinks you drink. And, with my work being completely out of work-life balance, I had developed rosacea. I have a new doctor right now, and she was just very matter-of-factly saying, it's just something you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. And it just kind of hit me. I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to have to live with this for the rest of my life? So she said, don't worry, I have a pill for that. For 2 months straight, my face didn't clear up, and I was just I was starting to get depressed over the holidays and that. And so I went back to her. She said, well, I can put you on another pill. And I said, well, I don't really want to be on another pill. I can tell that I get the flare-ups from certain things, whether it's stress or food or whatever. I think I'm just going to have to do my research on this. Thank you very much. As I left there, and I needed to find something to cover all this up. And Ava was with me, my daughter, and we ended up at the mall, ended up at the Mac counter. And this girl came up to me and she was like, the usual, can I help you? And so I said, well, explain my situation. And I was really close to tears. So she said, it's okay. Just take a deep breath. And this is a young girl. She was maybe 21, 22, somewhere around there. And she said, can I look? And she goes, okay, we can deal with this. And so she showed me some stuff. But it was just her tone too. She changed the level, the way she was speaking to me. And I'm going to tear up now thinking about it because she was so wonderful. And I was in such a bad spot. And she said, no, we can do this. We're going to fix this. We're going to get this right. She fixed me up. I now wear the particular foundation thanks to her. Fast forward to about a week or two ago, and I was back in that mall. As I was leaving, I saw that girl was working there, and I went up to her, and I told her how much she had helped me that day, and I thanked her. And she got all misty-eyed, and I said, is there somewhere that I can go to, write a good review on you or whatever? And she said, well, my manager's downstairs. You could come and tell her. And I said, absolutely. So we went downstairs. I got to see where they eat lunch and stuff like that in the mall. Before you know it, all three of us are crying. I said, you know what? Like this girl, her name is Crystal. Kudos to Crystal because she really helped me that day. She helped me feel good about a really bad, icky situation. And I felt like she needed to, be told.
Humanity.
Yeah.
How nice.
Yeah.
That's a great story because going back to earlier in the episode, like there's so many things we can vent about because, we feel wronged or we feel, angry about stuff. But then you really have to grasp to people and situations like this, like Crystal, because they exist and they get kind of buried in the negativity. So good for you for sharing that. And I think it's important to acknowledge that for sure.
Well, and the interesting thing with me is that I did that to make her feel good, but at the end of it, I ended up feeling good. I went in there in a bad mood and I came out of there thinking, I did the right thing. I did the right thing. More people should do that.
I agree. I think that's fantastic. Okay, Miss Anita, that's a lovely story. And you look fabulous, darling, by the way. The makeup just makes you a living.
MAC makeup.
Okay, so before we wrap up here, staying with the theme of being grateful and being thankful, we are grateful that you have made time for us. Thanks for hanging out. And time for the end quote. Anita, who do you think said this about gratitude? Here goes. I looked around and thought about my life. I felt grateful. I noticed every detail. That is the key to time travel. You can only move if you are actually in the moment. You have to be where you are to get where you need to go.
Oh, wow.
Deep.
That's very deep. I'm going to say Brene Brown.
You know what? You would think it's someone very philosophical like that, but it's one of the funniest women out there, Amy Poehler.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's funny too.
She is awesome. And that's it for now. You are awesome too. Thanks again for hanging out with us. And you know what? We have to mention, because some people don't realize that at the end of the show, before we totally sign off, we play some bloopers. So if you want to hear what happens behind the scenes, because I know we sound very polished, but actually we have a lot of mistakes. So listen for the bloopers. And until next time, have a good one.
Have a good one. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and like us on Instagram.
We are Moms Sipping Sangria. Sticking around for the bloopers, here they are. Holy crapola!
Sorry, my story was long, wasn't it? Oh my God! How are we going to do this? So, yeah, you got a longer cord, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's 15 feet like I have it. It literally...
That's not enough for you, Anita.
You can go to the bloody gym if you want, Anita. Oh my God. Diva.
Do you want to hit the button on that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so now you're beeping. Should have seen the look Sheila gave me when my phone dinged, and now hers just does it, and it's all okay.
For sponsorship opportunities, email us at momssippingsangria@gmail.com. Moms Sipping Sangria is produced by Elm Podcasting.
Cha-cha-cha.
Keep going.
Woohoo. Hello.
Yeah.